Today, I'm joined by Scrum.org professional Scrum trainer Duncan Maddox, and we are taking a look at transparency, inspection, and adaptation. This is part 3, so if you haven't checked out parts 1 and 2 yet, please go ahead and click those links below, and we'll get into the video.
So in your experience, what ways would a team from a technical point of view be looking at continuously improving?
I think on the surface, in my experience, they look at technical ways to improve. They look at the easy stuff. They look at how can we develop this bit of code better? What's our new language? What's our new tool? Our Zoom video conferencing, it's not very good. Let's upgrade to a different tool. That's the easy thing. That's the surface level.
And they ignore the really big elephants in the room where they could really make a difference.
The things that are actually stopping them getting stuff done that happen over and over again on a daily basis, micro things, that the sum of fixing those would make a much bigger difference than finding a way to improve their code. It's looking at finding ways to improve how they do the work rather than finding ways to improve the work itself. That's the real benefit I've found in teams.
And let's not forget there are impediments within the team, but there are also organizational impediments. And it's those organizational impediments, the change control meeting, which takes up 4 hours every week and produces no value. It's that kind of impediment which the team often don't think about because they think they're not empowered to do anything about it.
So how does transparency, inspection, and adaptation apply to the organization as a whole? It clearly applies to the Scrum team, but it applies to the organization. Otherwise, we have this fragile structure.
Yeah. So I think the Scrum Master has to be empowered to lobby for changes at an organizational level. Now, they're not always going to be able to make changes at that level, even if they can show that this is detrimental to the value the team's producing. But at the very least, the Scrum Master should be making very transparent the cost of any organizational impediments.
And that's probably the biggest challenge for a Scrum Master, or one of the biggest challenges in the real world, adapting the organization itself, whether that's the culture, whether that's the practices, the way the organization works. Changing a team, tricky, but doable. Changing an organization is a whole different kettle of fish.
It is. Full of fish.
Full of just fish everywhere. They refuse to change fish.
So I think organizational change is a big topic all on its own. We could probably do a 10-minute video on that, which we might be able to find something to talk about. But you're absolutely right. That inspection and adaptation, the transparency on the costs and benefits, that all applies to organizational level. It's much easier though to focus on the team level. What can we change, as opposed to what's really damaging us, what's really slowing us down.
And there's also the timescales involved in this too. Changing a team can happen a lot more rapidly than changing even a small part of the way an organization does stuff.
For example, Jeff Sutherland would always say that you should run your team as if it was a small entrepreneurial company all on its own, a startup within the larger organization. So that you should start it without any of the overheads, without any of the processes of the larger organization.
And what's the benefit of that? And in my experience, the real benefit of that small, run it like a small startup, is that stuff can happen faster. We get faster feedback loops, we get faster ability to adapt and change stuff and try new things, more freedom without all that stuff that's slowing the organization down.
Exactly. You can inspect and adapt quickly with the agility of a small organization, not a large lumbering organization.
What we're looking for is like fast feedback loops. Teams that get fast feedback loops can make decisions quicker. They can make decisions quicker on what they're going to do next, what sort of stuff they want to try changing. The faster we can get those feedback loops, the faster and more reactive the team becomes.
Yeah, culture is the key to being successful with Scrum. So whose responsibility, let's say at the daily Scrum, who's responsible for doing all the inspection?
It seems like it should be the Scrum Master. A lot of teams think this, that the Scrum Master knows about empiricism and transparency and the importance of all of this. And a lot of teams defer that responsibility to the Scrum Master. Obviously, what we're going for here is that it's everyone's responsibility. Everyone involved should be inspecting and adapting and all of that kind of stuff. So the Scrum Master can really help the teams, I've found, by helping them to understand that this is everyone's accountability. We all need to be inspecting and adapting everything, but often it gets deferred onto the Scrum Master.
Yeah. So the Scrum Master should really only step in where the team aren't able to deal with the situation. And if the Scrum Master himself can't make a change for the better, the very least that he can do is raise transparency about what the issue is.
Encourage them to have the right decisions so it becomes a force of habit, it becomes a personality trait. The teams just have these conversations that appear awkward, but after a while, once you've had them a bunch of times, they're not awkward anymore. No one takes offense. This social contract that a lot of teams come up with at the start can really help within the team, allowing the team members permission to raise these subjects without fear that someone's going to get offended, someone's going to get upset, this is going to be a bad thing. So wrapping this up then, transparency, inspection, adaptation. What is it all about? What's the sum total of this?
Okay, it's all about fast feedback loops on your product and continuous improvement on your processes and your technology.
And continuous improvement of the people within your team, recognizing that the team's a group of people, everything is up for inspection.
Everything.
And so what happens if we don't do this? Like, what's the downside?
So if we're not continuously adapting our plan, we're not responding to change. And therefore, we are consciously choosing to ignore everything that we've learned along the way, along the journey, and we're choosing to build an inferior product.
Which sounds a lot like waterfalling it, coming up with a plan at the start and sticking on that path. This is that distinction between an agile mindset and a waterfall project management approach. This boils
Absolutely.
down in some cases.
Yeah. And by not continuously improving our teamwork, our processes, our technology, then we're just not being as efficient as we could do. And we're not allowing our technical guys, our development teams to grow and be the best version of themselves that they can be.
Completely. So what would your number one tip be in your experience going into an organization or working with an organization, and you're noticing that they're struggling in some way with transparency, inspection, adaptation? What would be your number one tip for starting? How would you get the ball rolling to help organizations use this to their advantage?
Everything is built on the culture of trust and courage. Without that, you're going to struggle to get any meaningful results from Scrum.
You're right. Without this transparency, any decisions we make are not going to have a sound basis. They're based on incomplete information. The more transparency we've got, the better chance we give organizations and teams of making good decisions. They can still make bad decisions, but we give them a better chance of making the best decisions by having full transparency over everything.
Absolutely. If teams aren't actually being transparent, they're just going to be basically going through the motions of zombie Scrum, 15 minutes every day where no one's really saying what they think, 4 hours at the end of the sprint where they're looking at a demo and no one's really raising the big problems, a retrospective with a team with dysfunctions where no one's really speaking their mind. And after a while, they say, well, Scrum isn't working for us. We're not getting the benefits from these events because they're just not being transparent.
And at the end of the day, if we do what we've always done, we'll get what we've always got, for better or for worse.
Exactly that. ScrumChat.
ScrumChat. Say ScrumChat.
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 Say it.
So there we go. Transparency, inspection, adaptation, and all of that good stuff. If you found this video useful, please go ahead and click that little like button and have a think about subscribing to the channel. This has been the Scrum Master's Guide to the Galaxy, and we will see you on the next one.
Was that too controversial?
No, I wasn't listening.
Yeah, we'll edit that out. We don't want to say that.
No.
Okay, so yeah, Jeff Sutherland. Sorry. I thought I could pull that off. I couldn't.
Duncan, tell me about Jeff Sutherland.
Jeff Sutherland. I'm glad you asked.